generation, two Prose bros are born, chosen to watch every episode of Buffy and tell you what they think about them. This is the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. I am Jeff.
And I'm Eddie motherfucking Cruz.
Yep. Yeah, he is.
Damn right.
And today we are doing the Puppet Show episode.
We are. The Puppet Show. That's actually the name of the episode.
Yeah.
Right on the nose. You know what this show has, Jeff?
What?
Puppets.
Unfortunately.
Just one, actually. Not puppets. Puppet.
Hey, is the name of the series Buffy the Puppet Slayer?
It should be. Buffy the Puppet Show Slayer.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a reoccurring theme. We're going to see more puppets.
At least they're done better.
Yeah, they got away from the wooden plastic looking dummy and went into the felt line, which I think is more versatile probably.
It's like a Muppet.
Yeah, a Muppet. And also that wasn't in Buffy, that was in Angel, but same, in my opinion, same storyline, same mythology, same world.
So we talked about this a little earlier. How did you feel initially going into this episode?
Going into this episode, I remember this episode being complete garbage. If I think back to episodes in the first season, a lot of them that are Monsters of the Week come off as garbage. And a lot of the ones that I remember liking a lot, like the hyena episode, I remember being great, and turns out they are garbage. I actually hated this show, or thought I hated this episode, and the truth is I actually liked it a lot. I had fun right now when we watched this.
Oh. Going in for me, this was one of the two that I was like, oh God, we're going to have to watch this fucking episode. Because I hated it. It's one I remember as totally hating, and I still kind of hate it.
Right on. It
has its gems, but I still have the same issues with it that I had initially.
It definitely has more inside of it than I remember. It establishes more inside of the episode than I remember it establishing. I thought that it was kind of a throwaway episode. If you never saw this episode, you'd be okay. But the truth is it introduces Snyder. It also makes a lot of references to the future that we never really even noticed. And it cements Joss Whedon's great ability to reference pop culture in his shows.
But he didn't write this one, did he?
No, but I feel like, I don't know.
He's like passing the torch to his writers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he had some hand in this.
And the thing that people don't realize about these episodes is it's not truly ever one writer. There's a writing room. So you get writing credit for creating the actual idea for the episode. And then you work through it with a group of writers. It's usually about 8 to 10 people.
It's like Gus in Love.
There you go. Exactly like Gus in Love, which if you hadn't seen, just go back after you listen to this episode and then go back a couple of episodes and listen to our Love episode.
Yeah, if you want to listen to an amazing podcast on Love, let us know and we can listen to it and maybe we'll redo the one we did.
Yeah. Even though I think that we should just tell you, go watch Love. It was a great show.
Pay us, Netflix.
Yeah, they won't. Maybe when we have more than 3 viewers. If you're listening, thanks for being the 4th.
Hey, so what the fuck was this episode about? What happened in this episode, Eddie?
Okay, so we start out with Giles picking out the acts that are going to be allowed into the Sunnydale talent show. Or as Buffy and the Scoobies call it, the talentless show. And so you see Giles, and they're like, what kind of punishment is this, Giles? Like, why do you have to do this? And he's like, well, the new principal's an asshole, and he's making me watch all the talent show. And they're like, oh, this is stupid. We'd never be in the talent show. And then they run into the principal, and he's like, you have to be in the talent show. And then you see the principal later with Giles, and he's giving this awesome monologue, which I will cover in monologues, Eddie's monologue corner later. So then there's a death. This girl dies, and you're like, what? And right before the death, you hear something like, I must become whole again. I must become a human, or something like that. She dies.
Creepy.
Yeah, and then you go to this puppet.
He's like a Jeff Dunham fucking looking puppet.
Yeah, like, like a comic that has the gimmick of a puppet with them. And the puppet master is Morgan, and he's obviously not controlling the puppet, or at least they're making it painfully obvious that he's not controlling the puppet. And more people die. Everything points to this puppet. Morgan freaks out when the puppet's taken away. The puppet starts stalking Buffy, goes as far as to go to her house, looks through a window, and everything is saying, like, this puppet's killing people. Turns out, Puppet's not killing people. Puppet's a demon hunter.
Big twist right there.
You find out that the puppet's a puppet, a demon hunter, and he's actually hunting a demon who has to get all the body organs replenished so he can live on forever, something like that. Morgan is found dead. The puppet's not really sad. The puppet doesn't emote very well. Buffy's sad for a second.
Nobody gives a shit about Morgan. Really.
Nobody cares. But it turns out that Morgan had headaches throughout the episode, and it's because he had a brain tumor. So
you know what's fucked up?
The brain was no good.
The entire time they're all, Morgan, the weird kid. He had a fucking tumor. That's sad that they're
poor
like,
kid, like,
he's so weird.
He's such a weirdo. All he does is like touch his head, like, ow. And it turns out that he had like lots of brain tumors, and the monster rejects Morgan's brain and has to find a new brain, and they're like, who's smart? And they're like, Willow. Nope, it's Giles. Giles puts his head in a guillotine, which is ridiculous because he could totally have taken his head out of that however he wanted.
If he's that smart and he knows there's something going around
looking for a new brain,
harvesting organs,
why would he even try that?
Yeah.
Not to mention this kid has failed at every magic trick he's done. Like, I'm not going to get into a thing that just cut a cantaloupe clean in half. It's really stupid. So anyway, Xander gets there in the nick of time. After the rope is cut, the guillotine goes down. Xander uses his incredible Superman powers to hold the rope.
Well, he is a 16-year-old boy, so he has amazing grip.
That's true, but I gotta say, as a 33-year-old man, I have pretty strong grip too, because I still probably practice that just as much as he did. Anyway,
you got the experience.
Yeah, I got the experience.
He's got the youth
down. I got that hand grip down. Kung fu action. So Giles is saved. They find the other guy. Completely anticlimactic. The puppet stabs him in the chest, killing him. Puppet dies. And then we cut to the talent show where the three Scoobies are performing Oedipus the King. Or Oedipus Rex. Well, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Rex means king. So yeah, end of the episode comes. I actually really, really liked it. I think it was probably fueled by Goosebumps craziness that was going around that time.
Yeah, it feels
Night
like
of the
a
Living
total Goosebumps
Dummy.
episode.
Yeah. Instead of Slappy, the puppet's name is Sid. Slappy the clown. I think the only one doing anything slappy is Xander. Wouldn't you say, Jeff?
Sure.
Because he grabbed that rope so hard.
Yeah.
He's probably slapping himself at least 3 times a day.
Who knows how many times. So my big issue with this episode, and the reason I initially didn't like it is the same reason I still don't like it. I don't like the idea of this puppet as the main bad guy. And ultimately he turns out not to be. He's a demon hunter, but that's kind of the same thing. It's beyond cheesy, and there's very few moments. I love camp. I love the campy value of the show. I feel like this was done kind of poorly.
I have to agree with you only in the scope of the puppet itself was the budget was so low that the puppet really came off as a puppet, like obviously he didn't seem like he was alive. In the other episodes where they have puppets in Angel, they felt real. They felt alive. This one, he doesn't feel alive at all. He feels like a plastic dummy that if you drop on the floor would fall like a pile of clothes. He didn't emote at all. The mouth movements didn't really fit. I like the voice.
Well, the voice was good. It was a good voice, but I think the whole vaudevillian actor thing about it is done too much. I would have liked the voice better if it was something completely different. And I understand we talked about, how old this puppet, man inside this puppet might be. Talked about the Slayer from the 30s. But just that voice to me, he would sound like that, but I wish it would have sounded differently.
He sounded like he had smoked 1,000 cigarettes and then came up. Nothing like that.
See, that actually sounds better to me.
Oh, thanks, man. I came up with a better voice.
Yeah, it's almost like Tom Waitsy.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Heath Ledger's Joker. Well, if I'm going to do impressions, do you mind if we move on to Eddie's monologue corner?
Go for it.
Eddie's monologue. Welcome and enjoy Eddie's monologue corner. In today's episode, we had a great monologue by Principal Snyder, who was introduced this episode. And he starts out by having a great conversation with Giles that is just... we can't miss this one. All right, so let me... This place has quite the reputation. Suicides, missing persons, spontaneous cheerleader combustion. We can't put up with that. Gotta keep an eye on the bad element. Those three. Kids, I don't like them.
It's good.
All right.
Feels a little more sinister, though.
Yeah, I like the sinisterness. It's good stuff.
So this is one thing that I think was important to the overall series. This episode introduces Principal Snyder, which I've always loved Principal Snyder. He's just such a dick.
Yeah, I think that when... Number one, in any series, whenever there's a guy, I'm like, oh, I fucking hate that guy. I'm like, well, he did a really good job being a bad guy then. So I definitely did not like this character when he first came out. I definitely have to say that at this point in the series, I still didn't like him. I started liking him around the time Band Candy came out. That was a great episode with him when you see him do that. So we'll talk about that later, obviously. But I still am not on the Snyder bandwagon as far as liking him as a character. But I definitely think he kills it.
To me, he felt more like a real person than Principal Flutie ever did.
I agree, but at the same time, did Principal Flutie ever really get a fair shake?
Yeah, I feel like he was at least in enough episodes. We see Principal Snyder, and initially you get this tone, you get this vibe from him, which is awesome.
He doesn't like kids. It's like in this monologue at the very beginning of the show.
And it may be that they didn't know what to do with Principal Flutie.
Except kill him.
To me, yeah, he seemed like this ineffectual principal that Buffy can come into, and maybe he was going to do a little more with a comedic value, but that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're all, fuck it, let's kill him off. Let's get like an adversary in this principal for Buffy.
And one of the guys was probably watching Star Trek and was like, hey, that guy with the butthole on his head. That guy would be a great principal.
Which guy?
So Principal Snyder was on Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek: The Next Generation as a character called Quark, like Quirky, but Quark. And he had a butthole on his head. Not a butthole, but like a line on his head, in the middle of his head, with two things that made it look like a butt was on his head.
I just thought it was more like two fin-looking things.
I feel like, no, it's not fins. They're like two mounds.
Well, there definitely wasn't a butthole directly in the middle of his head.
Where there's butts, there's a butthole.
So
That's science, dude. I don't know what you're arguing with that with.
I don't even know how to respond to that. All right, how about this? I got one. Cigarette butts in an ashtray. Where's the butthole?
I don't know, man, but I got one to come right back at you. Milk, lemonade around the corner. Fudge is made.
All right, yeah, another speechless moment for me.
Where's the butt? Where's the butthole? The guy that smoked the cigarette. Boom.
You used to smoke? Or you still smoke?
Whenever I get drunk.
Okay.
Whenever I'm drinking in public, I smoke cigarettes.
So you're an occasional butthole.
Yeah, I'm occasionally a butthole. And I'm always an asshole. So. Oh man. Also, want to point out that another comic book reference here. Character for the dummy was completely taken from the bad guys, the Rogues Gallery of Batman. In the character, I think is it Scarface?
I thought it was,
because there's a dummy with a scar on its face, but I'm not sure if it's called Scarface or not.
And I don't know for sure. I feel like they didn't take that from the animated series or from Batman. I think that's just like a common theme with dummies, these evil dummies in this, vaudevillian voice that keeps turning up. Yeah,
but at the same time, having the puppet master be a meek, mild-mannered person feels a lot like the Batman character, and knowing Joss Whedon's background, I really think that he probably was like, here, read this comic. That's what I want you to do, kind of thing. I'm not positive about that, but it just feels like that is what he would do. In my head, that's how it played out. And I want to...
I could see that.
I want to say that because we're talking about the show.
So I still think that this episode does not have a lot of substance. However, there are some gems in it. There's some funny moments. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything that you thought was particularly funny?
Xander's still a rapist-ish. He's kind of rapey. Not, maybe I'm throwing him under the bus too much. Xander is more and more kind of gross than I remember him being. And here's another example of it when the dummy's calling Buffy nimble, and he totally nubile.
Does he call her nimble and limber?
Limber and nubile. And he's like rolling his eyes like in the back of his head, and Xander's like, yeah.
I love that one little moment. It is a creepy moment.
It's kind of creepy.
Where they look at each other and be like, yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah.
You, me, Buffy. Yeah, I'm being that bitch.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, no, man.
But I don't know if I'm just like a super Xander defender, even though he already tried to rape her, but he was a hyena.
Yeah, but he remembers everything, and it seems like the hyena possessed him and brought out his animal instincts more so than possessed him and forced him to do things he didn't want to do. Or else he would have maybe raped Willow, or, attempted to rape Willow, not attempted to rape Buffy, who he already had an attraction to.
Damn, that's a good point. When you frame it that way, the rest of all his, what I believe is this 15, 16-year-old harmless flirting sort of thing.
Pretty soon he's going to be fucking Trump, fucking on Access Hollywood, grabbing bitches by the pussy.
Yeah.
And no. I don't feel bad saying that. You know why? Because I'm not running for fucking president, and if I can't say it, then why the fuck is half the country voting for that piece of shit? Fuck Trump. 2016. What?
So Xander...
Back to the episode. Yeah. So back to the episode.
I don't know what I'm going to do with that little part too.
That's out. That's out.
So yeah, Xander's jealousy is normally a huge theme, and I just kind of felt that was like a little nod, like, hey, we're moving past this part of the show, but let's still throw this in a humorous way. And it is humorous for him to relate to another horny dummy, because essentially he is a horny dummy.
I find myself relating less and less to Xander. Xander was the everyman when I was growing up, and I related to him a lot. But I guess I overlooked all of his shittiness. And now upon rewatching this, I'm starting to feel like Xander isn't as awesome as I used to think. He is awesome still, but considering what's going to happen in season like 5 and 6 and what's coming down the road and this stuff, he's kind of a flawed character all the way through.
Yeah. But say, you had a great point with the whole Pack episode and framing this kind of flirtation and crush with Buffy based on that. That's really fucked up. And that's the biggest thing to me. I was like, oh shit, maybe he is a fucked up character, a fucked up person.
The best light that Xander is shown in is after Buffy ends completely, and in the comic books, first series of comic books, season 8, Xander is finally portrayed in a really holistic, awesome light. He comes off great then, but I think up until then he's kind of portrayed as, not portrayed, but he can be seen as a complete piece of shit.
He can.
There's an argument to be made.
Yeah, definitely.
That doesn't mean that you should make it, but I'm just saying I could write a paper on it.
And I like the idea of Xander, at least in this season, Xander the horny dummy. And that's why he relates.
Yeah. And
that's
super
that
dumb. Like, super dumber than I remember him being. Like, goofier, but, like, I always thought of him as an idiot savant kind of thing. Not even idiot savant. That means, like, he's good at something. He's not really good at anything. But I always thought of, like, him as the fool with the heart of gold. I always thought of him as that. And I'm starting to see other parts of him that I never really saw before.
So how do you feel about Xander? Something I noticed in the episode, Xander being used as a plot device.
Xander is used as a plot device a lot.
In this episode and several other episodes, I feel it really works because what Xander does is explains the plot to the audience.
Yeah.
And it's great using Xander as that because he is an idiot. So you would expect him to have to say it out loud and say everything in his mind to fully understand. If Willow does that, that's out of character.
Yeah.
If Buffy does it, it's out of character. And she does it. And she has done it.
And she has done it a lot. Yeah. Willow.
Xander seems a little more organic when he's trying to piece things together.
Yeah.
And that becomes funny.
However, he does do that beautiful thing of using nouns as verbs, like Kaiser Sosade.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's great. That's awesome to me. Also, Buffy, nouns as verbs, to go back to that, created Googled. That was in an article. They were the first show or medium to use Google as a verb instead of a noun.
Yeah, and Google didn't even want to have that. They didn't want to use that. They didn't want
Which
the
is
term.
The dumbest marketing.
Google it.
Yeah, everybody should want that. Like, I wish I had a thing where, like, hey, man, can you Eddie Cruz that for me? I don't know what Eddie Cruzing would be, but it'd be cool.
If it were something, what would it be?
Like farting, but like hiding it. Like a really good way of like today I was in a cheese cooler and I was like, it smells like cheese in here, and I farted. That'd be an Eddie Cruz.
That's fucking
Like,
disgusting.
I just Eddie Cruz the shit out of like all my coworkers.
You're like, no, that's just. They're all, it smells weird in here.
I'm
No,
like,
it's
yeah,
really
this
good cheese,
man. This fucking look at this 80-pound Parmesan wheel. Like, of course it's that. It's not me.
Wow, Eddie, the really expensive cheese sounds like your nasty ass beer farts.
Sorry. Beer farts. Ooh. Oh. Okay.
Something else I thought that was particularly funny that they didn't really use too much of it, or could have used better. I love this idea of Giles finally being involved with a school and being forced to do a talent show.
Yeah, and his disdain for all students rivals Principal Snyder's.
Yeah.
I mean, it really comes down to it. Like, even the three that are helping him fight demons, the first thing he says is, "Oh, you three." Like, first thing he says in the entire episode is, "Oh, God, you three." And he loves them. Well, not yet, but he's going to grow to love them. And that disdain always stays there.
You feel it a little bit right now. He mentions Xander. So he's fucking with Cordelia, mentioning her hair, and she flips out, and he's like, oh, Xander was right. Worked like a charm.
Yeah,
and you start to
giving her
see...
a backwards compliment or telling her that her hair's messed up would work in getting rid of her.
Yeah, and you start to see Giles. I don't know if he's respecting him necessarily, but just...
finding the use of each character.
You see that relationship grow.
Yeah, and I mean, he finds that as useful for Xander, and he says, Willow, can you work with this atrocious box, the idiot box or whatever he calls it, for the computer, and Buffy's the vampire slayer so she can kick his ass.
You were still pretty into this episode, though?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. I guess maybe the low expectations really helped, but yeah, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
And for sure there were those moments. Giles being put in that situation is instantly humorous. I'm not really into dummies or ventriloquists. I thought that was pretty shitty.
But you have like 17 video cassettes at your house that say otherwise.
Well, shh.
Oh, sorry. You even have that book, Dummies for Dummies.
Dummies for Dummies?
Yeah.
No, man, I don't like that. And it's not even creepy in like a Child's Play sort of way.
No, it's not. It lacks
corny.
all of the character that Child's Play had. I think that it would have been better if they had, number one, a better budget. Well, you get Chucky in here, and now you got a scary episode. But the ventriloquist dummy that they had really lacked. Like, it was really shitty. It was definitely one, like, I think I could go out in El Paso and find that ventriloquist dummy right now.
You could, but that'd still probably be a couple $100, right?
Yeah, I would say about $79.99.
We're gonna find this fucking dummy.
I'm going on Amazon right now. I got 2-day shipping on that bitch.
Sure, let's do it.
Free.
Pay us, Amazon.
Yeah. No, stop asking for money. You gotta subtly earn that. You gotta be like, Amazon, I don't want you to pay us.
How about this? Amazon, we could do one of your original shows. Am I still threatening? I'm threatening.
I don't know, you're threatening. Amazon, I'd be happy with a free subscription to Prime.
Mad Dog's a good original show.
Yeah.
Hand of God,
Yeah.
decent show.
Transparent.
Yeah, there we go.
Transparent was great. Emmy award-winning show.
Yeah.
But I think that's only because of Caitlyn Jenner.
Should we go over the deaths?
Yeah.
Is it that time?
Let's do it.
So, there were 3 deaths. Again, no vampire episode.
No
which
vampires.
I fucking hate the no vampire episode.
It's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Yes.
not Buffy the... God, I'm really struggling with this word. Ventriloquist dummy.
It's hard after
Slayer.
a couple drinks,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. 2 shots and 3 beers. That'll
So-
ruin that.
2 humans died. The girl who gets her heart removed. And Morgan. Poor motherfucking Morgan, dude.
Morgan had it rough, man.
Yeah.
Morgan had it rough.
Really felt for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, of course, the demon. And I get... Would you say... That's not necessarily a Xander kill, right?
The demon?
Yeah, Xander decapitated and the puppet.
I say Gravity killed that
Okay.
one.
All right.
Yeah.
And then the puppet stabbed him in the heart.
Yeah.
So 3 kills. Buffy doesn't kill anybody this episode.
None.
Yeah.
Which is good because she's a hero.
I knew
She
you'd throw
shouldn't
that
be.
back in my face.
And I did.
You don't have to do the countdown because then we'll just edit everything before.
Yeah, but I like doing it. Makes me feel like I'm in Wayne's World.
Can I do like an Eddie intro though?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Prose Visit Sunnydale.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I would have gone with a little bit more like car salesman, like hello and welcome. You like cheese? I sell cheese for a living.
You like Buffy? I know you like Buffy.
You like Buffy? I'm a big fan of Willow, and I also like most of the Romanian monsters on the show because they are the best at maybe portraying true human emotion.
Wow.